Zechariah Chapter 7. And in the 4th year of Darius the king the word of Jehovah came to Zechariah on the 4th day of the 9th month, the month Chislev. Now the people of Bethel had sent Sharezer and Regemmelech and their men to entreat the favor of Jehovah. By speaking to the priests who belonged to the house of Jehovah of hosts and to the prophets, saying, Shall I weep in the 5th month and separate myself, as I have done these many years? Then the word of Jehovah of hosts came to me, saying, Speak to all the people of the land and to the priests, saying, When you fasted and mourned in the 5th and 7th months, even for these 70 years, was it at all for me that you fasted? And when you eat and when you drink, are you not the ones eating and are you not the ones drinking? Are not these the words which Jehovah proclaimed by the former prophets when Jerusalem was inhabited and prosperous and had cities round about her, when the Negev and the lowlands were inhabited? And the word of Jehovah came to Zechariah, saying, Thus speaks Jehovah of hosts, saying, Judge with judgment of truth, and show loving kindness and compassion each to his brother. And do not oppress the widow and the orphan, the stranger and the poor, and let none of you think evil in your hearts about his brother. But they refused to listen, and they turned a stubborn shoulder and closed their ears from hearing. And they set their hearts like flint so as not to hear the instruction and the words which Jehovah of hosts sent by his Spirit through the former prophets, therefore great wrath came from Jehovah of hosts. And as he called and they would not hear, so they called and I would not hear, says Jehovah of hosts. But with a storm I scattered them away upon all the nations, whom they did not know. Thus the land is desolate behind them, so that no one passes through it and no one returns to it, for they have made the desirable land desolate. Zechariah Chapter 8. And the word of Jehovah of hosts came, saying, Thus says Jehovah of hosts, I am jealous for Zion with great jealousy, indeed, I am jealous for her with great wrath. Thus says Jehovah, I return to Zion, and I will dwell within Jerusalem, and Jerusalem will be called the city of truth, and the mountain of Jehovah of hosts, the holy mountain. Thus says Jehovah of hosts, Yet again old men and old women will dwell in the streets of Jerusalem, each with his staff in his hand due to the multitude of his days. And the streets of the city will be full of boys and girls playing in its streets. Thus says Jehovah of hosts, if it seems too wonderful in the sight of the remnant of this people in those days, will it also be too wonderful in my sight? Declares Jehovah of hosts. Thus says Jehovah of hosts, I am about to save my people from the land of the east and from the land of the going down of the sun. And I will bring them, and they will dwell within Jerusalem, and they will be my people and I will be their God in truth and in righteousness. Thus says Jehovah of hosts, Let your hands be strong, you who in these days hear these words from the mouth of the prophets who were there in the day when the foundation of the house of Jehovah of hosts, that is, the temple, was laid so that it might be built. For before those days a man's wages amounted to nothing, and an animal's wages were nothing, and for him who went out or came in there was no peace, because of the adversary, for I set all men each against his neighbor. But now I will not be to the remnant of this people as I was in the former days, declares Jehovah of hosts. For there will be peace for the seed, the vine will give forth its fruit, and the land will give forth its produce, and the heavens will give their due. And I will cause the remnant of this people to inherit all these things. And just as you were a curse among the nations, O house of Judah and house of Israel, so will I save you, and you will be a blessing. Do not fear, let your hands be strong. For thus says Jehovah of hosts, just as I intended to do harm to you when your fathers provoked me to anger, says Jehovah of hosts, and I did not repent. So again I intend in these days to do good to Jerusalem and to the house of Judah, do not fear. These are the things which you shall do, each man speak truth to his neighbor, judge with truth and the judgment of peace in your gates. And let none of you think evil in your hearts about his neighbor, and do not love a false oath, for all these are the things I hate, declares Jehovah. Then the word of Jehovah of hosts came to me, saying, Thus says Jehovah of hosts, the fast of the 4th month and the fast of the 5th month and the fast of the 7th month and the fast of the 10th month will become joy and rejoicing and cheerful feasts to the house of Judah, therefore love truth and peace. Thus says Jehovah of hosts, peoples will again come, even the inhabitants of many cities. And the inhabitants of one will go to another, saying, Let us go at once to entreat the favor of Jehovah and to seek Jehovah of hosts, and the other, I will go too. Indeed, many peoples and strong nations will come to seek Jehovah of hosts in Jerusalem and to entreat the favor of Jehovah. Thus says Jehovah of hosts, in those days, from all the languages of the nations, 10 men will take hold, indeed, they will take hold of the skirt of a Jewish man, saying, Let us go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. Zechariah Chapter 9. The burden of the word of Jehovah against the land of Hadrach, and Damascus will be its resting place, for Jehovah has an eye on man, especially on the tribes of Israel. And Hamath also, which borders on it, Tyre and Sidon, because they are very wise. For Tyre built herself a stronghold and heaped up silver like dust and gold like the mire of the streets. The Lord is about to take possession of her, and he will strike her might in the sea, and she will be consumed with fire. Ashkelon will see it and be afraid, Gaza also, and it will writhe much in anguish, and Ekron, for her expectation will have been confounded. And the king will perish from Gaza, and Ashkelon will not be inhabited. And a mixed race will dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. And I will remove his blood from his mouth and his detestable things from between his teeth, and he also will remain unto our God, and he will be like a leader in Judah, and Ekron will be like a Jebusite. And I will encamp around my house because of an army, because of him who passes by and returns, and no oppressor will pass over them any more, for now I see with my eyes. Exult greatly, O daughter of Zion, shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Now your king comes to you. He is righteous and bears salvation, lowly and riding upon a donkey, even upon a colt, the foal of a donkey. And I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow will be cut off, and he will speak peace unto the nations, and his dominion will be from sea to sea and from the river unto the ends of the earth. As for you also, because of the blood of your covenant, I have released your captives from the pit, where there is no water. Turn to the stronghold, O prisoners with hope. This very day I am declaring that I will restore double to you. For I will bend Judah for myself, and I will fill a bow with Ephraim, and I will stir up your sons, O Zion, against your sons, O Javan, and I will make you like a warrior's sword. And Jehovah will appear above them, and his arrow will go forth like lightning, and the Lord Jehovah will blow the trumpet, and he will go in the whirlwinds of the south. Jehovah of hosts will defend them, and they will devour and trample the sling stones. And they will drink, they will be noisy as if with wine, and they will be filled like a sacrificial basin, like the corners of the altar. And Jehovah their God will save them in that day as the flock of his people, for they will be like the stones of a crown, sparkling in his land. For how great is their goodness, and how great their beauty! Grain will make the young men flourish, and new wine, the virgins. Zechariah Chapter 10. Ask rain of Jehovah at the time of spring rain, of Jehovah who makes the lightning, and he will give them showers of rain, to everyone herbage in the field. For the teraphim have spoken vanity, and the diviners have seen a lie and have spoken false dreams, they comforted in vain. Therefore the people have wandered like sheep, they are afflicted because there is no shepherd. My anger is kindled against the shepherds, and I will punish the male goats, for Jehovah of hosts has visited his flock, the house of Judah, and will make them like his horse of majesty in battle. From him will come forth the cornerstone, from him the peg, from him the battle bow, from him every ruler together. And they will be as mighty men trampling their enemies in the mire of the streets in the battle, and they will fight, for Jehovah is with them, and the riders of horses will be put to shame. And I will strengthen the house of Judah, and I will save the house of Joseph, and I will bring them back, for I have had compassion on them, and they will be as though I had not rejected them, for I am Jehovah their God, and I will answer them. And they of Ephraim will be like a mighty man, and their hearts will rejoice as if with wine, indeed, their children will see it and rejoice, their heart will exult in Jehovah. I will whistle for them and gather them, for I have redeemed them, and they will multiply as they have multiplied. And I will sow them among the peoples, and in distant lands they will remember me, and they will live with their children and return. I will also bring them back from the land of Egypt and gather them out of Assyria, and to the land of Gilead and Lebanon I will bring them, and there will not be enough room found for them. And he will pass through the sea of distress and strike the waves in the sea, and all the depths of the Nile will dry up, and the pride of Assyria will be brought down, and the scepter of Egypt will depart. And I will strengthen them in Jehovah, and they will walk about in his name, declares Jehovah.